Okay, this month we've got the movie Hunt for the Wilderpeople. And it's set in New Zealand. I think it's made in 2015, thereabouts. Um, the scenery is quite nice in the movies. At least at times they sort of show the back bush and woods, but then it's sort of got close-up camera shots of things happening, and it just looks like the back of woods. It doesn't look like what you'd think you'd find in New Zealand. So it's picturesque, and then it's not so picturesque at times. The whole plot of the movie, in a quick summary, is there's a little boy named Ricky Baker who's been sent to live with a family because I guess to be fostered. I guess he didn't know who his father was. His mom let him go when he was younger. You find that out through the movie. And the foster system's had a tough time with him. He's been a bit of a rebel kind of kid. I don't know, he's probably, at the time, 10, 11 years old kind of thing. Overweight, chubby little kid, and he's sent to live in the middle of nowhere in New Zealand. So this is a house that has really no neighbors, and a lady, her name is Bella, and her husband, Heck, I guess it's her husband. I don't know that they really say it. They both have the last name Faulkner. But that she had taken him in as a stray when he got out of prison, and then she's now taken this young boy in to, I guess, foster him. The police and the foster agency representative, a woman, drops him off, and Bella, the wife of the house in the middle of nowhere, treats him wonderfully. Makes it almost a joyous kind of thing that he's coming to visit, even though he's quiet and doesn't say a word. So you see that he's pretty troubled with being sent. I mean, I guess in the inner city, and now he's in the middle of nowhere, and he's not really going to have the kind of life that he was sort of hoping for. So he immediately tries to leave the situation, get back in the police car, and just head off somewhere else. Of course, they convince him to stay. And then he runs away from home in the middle of the night, and the Bella, the lady of the house, she goes out and finds him, but treats him wonderfully again. Just says, "Oh, you didn't get very far, and I'm glad I found you," and brings him back into the house. And he's treated very warmly, and no matter what goes on, they give him a lot of, I wouldn't say responsibility, but they end up getting him a dog for his birthday, and he's very touched by the fact that he now has a dog. He decides to call the dog Tupac. Tupac is somebody he sort of knows as sort of a very gangstery kind of guy, and he wants to model himself after somebody like Tupac. And throughout the movie is a bit of a thread of him wanting to be gangster, and that's what he thinks he is, even though he's just a young kid trying to figure out his way in the world. He starts to warm up to Bella and Heck. Heck is the man of the house. Although you don't really know if they're a couple or not, the way they sort of seem disjointed. And later he tells you the story of she took him in. So you don't really, I don't get the sense that it was a regular kind of situation. And then just as he's warming up to her, not so much him, but to Bella, Ricky Baker was the boy's name, she passes away. And it's devastating to Heck, the old man of the house. And he decides that the boy's going to have to go. And he didn't want the boy in the first place. And the boy, Ricky Baker, he sort of doesn't want any, he doesn't want to go back because he's sort of fallen in love with this place. He now considers it his home. So he wants to stick around. And they go to her funeral, and now they go back home and they know that the foster agency / police / whoever manages it comes back to pick him up. And he decides he's going to fake his own death. I mean, he's a 10-year-old kid, not really knowing what faking your own death even means. But he's going to light a fake body on fire so that when it burns, they think that he, was lit on fire and he died. But of course, the whole sort of barn catches on fire and burns up. And so he decides to take off and run away because he's caused that problem. He's got his dog with him and he just heads off into the bush. He's run away a few times, but this time he's sort of really got the idea that he's going to have to go on his own because he's not wanted by Heck. And even though you don't really get the idea that Heck wants to keep him, he just says, can't keep you. That's not the way the system works. Bella, the woman who died, wanted to have you here. And since she's died, you're going to have to go back. So now Ricky Baker has taken off into the woods. He's traveled a fair long distance away from the house. And after a little while, I guess Heck catches up with him and finds him and tells him he's got to come back home. And in that sort of issue of them trying to figure out their place and what they're going to do and how they're going to manage it, Heck hurts his leg, trips up in some wood and gets his foot caught, and he ends up fracturing his leg. So they decide they're going to try and camp out right on that spot for like 6 weeks as that thing heals. And then, figure out how to manage for those 6 weeks. So they do. It's a little bit disjointed in the fact that they seem to be wearing the same clothes and they're fine after 6 weeks, and they've been eating, I guess, okay, even though, they show they catch some food and do some get some food somehow, but you're not going to sustain yourself, and especially when you're a chubby kid. After 6 weeks, you wouldn't be such a chubby kid anymore, but he still is. So you got to suspend some disbelief in the movie, but I don't think that it's that important. You get the idea that they've been in for 6 weeks. He now can sort of walk. He's actually, after 6 weeks, walking quite well. They decide to head back. They come across a house that they can go into, I guess, every so often in the middle of the wilderness. They have these ranger stations or homes for hunters, or I don't know what they're set up for, but they go into there just to check on things and realize that there's a wanted poster on the wall saying that they're looking for Heck, thinking he's kidnapped the boy, and the boy's in danger. And just at that sort of point, as they figure this out, you're figuring out that Heck doesn't know how to read, because he says to the boy, you read what this says. And so he's reading it off, and you're figuring out that the old man has that sort of against him, that he doesn't know how to read. So the boy reads it, he realizes the sort of trouble he's in, and he thinks, because of in the past, when he did go to jail when he was younger, that they're going to just not believe anything and assume that he's done bad things. And then all of a sudden the Rangers, 3 of them, come in, who were sort of looking for these guys, or at least had them on the radar, people to look out for. And they're not, they really think that Heck has done something with the boy, kidnapped him and done bad things to him. And they ask the kid, and he just sort of goes, no, he doesn't do bad things. He's just not always nice to me, and sometimes makes me do things I don't want to do. And he's meaning go find wood or something. But they're all reading through that means something else. So they end up leaving them there and taking off. And the rest of the movie is them trying to evade capture. And they have to actually make it through the winter. And so how they got the name wilderpeople is because the boy, Ricky Baker, he says that he was talking about wildebeests and how they are a strong animal in the wild. And so he calls they decided to call themselves, because they're living in the wild, wilderpeople. So that's the wildebeest, wilderpeople is, and they sort of got that name branded to themselves as they sort of continued on. So as they make it through winter, just trying to evade capture, and I'll call it the outback, but it's New Zealand, and they just show the difficulties they go through. There's one scene where a wild boar comes up and almost kills them, but ends up injuring a dog so much, and Heck has to shoot his dog, not the dog that Ricky Baker had, but I don't know why we call him Ricky Baker. That's the name that they always seem to say. They didn't just call him Ricky. They had to put that dog down, or Heck had to put the dog down. It was a bit of a sad scene. But you see their struggles. Then all of a sudden it looks very like SWAT teams coming after them and looking for these people. I guess there would be an amount of people looking out if they thought there was somebody who kidnapped a young boy and is keeping him in the woods and doing bad things. But they're not really, I think, thinking that, or you'd be acting a little bit differently in the situation. So again, more suspension of disbelief. These SWAT teams, people dressed in black with guns, are mobilizing themselves and maybe jumping out of helicopters and trying to find them. And every so often they come across them in the woods, and somehow they evade capture by 15 guys who were out to save the little boy's life and capture Heck. And even though they're both sort of on the run, sooner or later they get sort of caught up that they've enclosed on them enough, and now they sort of escape in a pickup truck, and now there's police cars and pickup trucks and an immense amount of people sort of chasing them, I guess in a scene similar to, what's that movie with Susan Sarandon and Gina Davis, where, I don't remember the name of it. You know the movie where at the end they're about to go over the cliff in the Thunderbird kind of thing, where they're all being chased by police, sort of that same kind of scene where they're just going down through the fields and they finally sort of crash, and the movie is sort of essentially over, and you sort of don't want it to end that way as they sort of get caught and sort of reeled in. You really want to find out what happens. And it's nice because they show a bit of a court scene of all the trials and the people that they met saying what went on. Somehow Heck goes to jail, but I guess you would go to jail even if you're evading the authorities with a boy. Even if you've done nothing to him, I guess there's some kind of penance you're going to have to pay for that. And one of the people that Ricky has met in his trials through the woods, he decides that I guess they've accepted for him to come live with them. I guess a year later, Heck is out of prison and now in a halfway house kind of situation. And so Ricky meets up with him and starts chatting and says, you could come live on the farm where this, I guess it's a couple, a young girl and maybe your brother, maybe your boyfriend. I don't know if they really sort of elaborate on that. And they would have room for him. And so at the end, he decides to get up and leave and go join Ricky, because they sort of bonded throughout being in the woods together for, 6 months, 8 months, whatever the length of time was. So it's a bit of a drama, a bit of a comedy. I think so. Anita usually wants to make a thread in a movie. So last movie was Jojo Rabbit. And then this movie, she was going to pick Bye Bye Germany, but that one was only in Russian or something, or the audio was just in Russian. So she decided on this movie. The Bye Bye Germany would have gone along with Jojo Rabbit because we're both end of World War II. I think Bye Bye Germany is post World War II, but Jojo Rabbit is the very ending of the war. So Germany in World War II, it was, I guess, the mainstay in both those movies. But because she's picked this movie, all I can think of is it's a young boy as the major character of both movies. Both great actors. It's hard to imagine being that age, being able to act like that. They didn't overact either. Wasn't super dramatic, just in telling the story and living their life and accomplishing the things that I guess maybe in Jojo Rabbit, the boy overacted more than in this one. It seemed more realistic for a quiet boy to be acting the way he did inside of Hunt for the Wilderpeople. But I wouldn't say it's the best movie out there, but it certainly was a nice, feel-good, heartwarming movie. It's so sad the way that Bella had died pretty much at the beginning of the movie, because of the feeling of how nice it was that this boy was fitting in and feeling good, and she was really the shining star of that. And so it was quite disappointing to not have her throughout the movie. I would have sort of liked to have seen what would have happened under those kind of conditions. But I guess that's what moved the plot along and got him to leave the house and feel like he's on his own and start to bond with Heck over time and accomplish what they do for the rest of the movie. That's evade the authorities. So certainly a great movie to watch. Not a tearjerker, not super heartwarming, but certainly nice enough that you like it when it's over, and you certainly like the young actor in it. And you certainly Sam Neill plays Heck. He's the only real star that you sort of know, I think, in this movie. The rest, I think, assuming he's not from New Zealand, but the rest, I think, are all sort of New Zealand regulars. But yeah, I don't know what I would give it on a rating, but I think 7.9 was with IMDb. I don't think I'd put it that high. I'd probably put it about a 6.5 or something, but there was just too much suspensions of disbelief of breaking a leg and then can't move, and then now I can walk pretty fine 6 weeks later when you haven't walked on it 6 weeks. I don't know. That's just me being too logical, I think. So we'll have to see what we end up watching next month. But that's my review on The Hunt for the Wilderpeople. Peace.